Well, I just thought I'd do a video on canopy of stars. The treasure has been found. It was found under a canopy of stars in the lush forest vegetation of the Rocky Mountains and has not moved from the spot where I hid it, keyword, more than 10 years ago. I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him to the precise spot. I congratulate the thousands of people who participated in the search and hope they will continue to be drawn by the promise of other discoveries. So the search is over. Look forward for more information and photos in the coming days. F. Anyway, that was June 6th, 2020. Now we're going to look at some, it was found under a canopy of stars. Why would he do that? But it gives us some hints because everything that Forrest Fenn does has hints in it. Anyway, on page 41 of The Thrill of the Chase, we have a canopy of stars, and this is Forrest sitting on this grave marker. Anyway, I'm going to read something here. On that page, it goes, sometimes when it wasn't too cold, I'd get even with my father for switching me. And that's what's been done, is I got switched. Read this. Sometimes when it wasn't too cold, I'd get even with my father for switching me. And that's what's been done here. A switch has been played. By jumping out of the window by my bed and walking down to the cemetery, which was just a block north of our house. It took guts to go in there when it was dark with no moon. I still remember the sense of accomplishment I felt when I sat on some dead guy's grave marker. Marker has a word value of 66. I wasn't even afraid. A kid really has time to think in a graveyard, because if you're not a kid and you're in a graveyard, usually your time's ran out. So a kid really has time to think in a graveyard. If we look on page 37 of Surviving Myself, it shows at the header a picture of Forrest here without the canopy of stars. Anyway, this is a clue. There's two markers here. That's number 2 right here. That's Forrest Fenn as the blaze right here. And this is the 3 right here. Cross marks the spot, which is number 3 or 15 right here. There's the pattern again. 2, Forrest Fenn, and 3. Something to think about. Okay, here to throw you a little off, he put an extra one right here, but it's still 2, Forrest Fenn, and 3. He can't make it totally obvious or everybody would see it. You can't make it easy or everybody would be able to do it. Okay, here we have another canopy of stars, and we have the moon, and it's a crescent moon, and it kind of looks like a C to me. And that's the 3rd letter in the alphabet. So you got number 3 there. You have a bird here, and bird value just happens to be 33. And so, you have the end here, which could be 99. 3 times 33 is 99. I don't know. Anyway, or in peace right here is 30. So either way, you can get an end number here. And then there just happens to be 23 stumps, which the word value end has 23 in it. So and in the cemetery that I'm in has more stumps than I've ever seen in a cemetery. There's a lot of cut down trees. And, trees represent people. So when you've been cut down, that means you're in the ground, you're buried. And there's a lot of symbolisms to referring to people as trees. So you can look into that. Anyway, I looked up some definitions of canopy, and I found some interesting ones. I'm sure you can do your own search, but It goes, let's see, right here. Okay, here it is. Number 2 right here. Architecture or ornamental roof-like projection over a niche. He uses niche, found in a niche. Altar or tomb right there. So this is a canopy over a tomb. It's Forrest Fenn's. Anyway, there's other ones. Okay. Here's a high overreaching covering such as the sky. Anyway, so you can read these all, but there's some that really fit, and that's how Forrest Fenn played, is with words and definitions. Anyway, I thought I'd do some definitions of like cemetery, a place where dead are buried, especially not attached to a church. And then you have your Latin here, room for sleeping, or to put to sleep. So there's a lot of beds and truck beds and all sorts of things that's referring to, a cemetery. Here's another burial ground for the dead, and down here it's put to sleep. To put to sleep. Another one. Anyway, here's a definition of omega, letter of the alphabet, 24th last letter in the Greek alphabet, and you got the omega sign and a W for the lowercase, a long vowel translated as O, and O, the end or the last of a series. So Greek, it means O negative, so it's a big O. And if you do the O in our alphabet, it's the 15th letter, and 15 takes you to the last omega. Is that coincidence or what's going on here, On page 43, this one, there's not a lot of stars, but I guess you're dancing with the stars, and actually there's in Once Upon a While, there's Dancing with the Stars, and the cover Once Upon a While has stars on it, and we know that the map of the cemetery is on the cover of Once Upon a While. You can see that in the patterns if you watch that video. Anyway, right here, you got the shoes, Nike, he's under the wagon, these are Omegas, and, but the other two definitely apply to a cemetery. This one, he did run through the cemetery to get to this, so, and on this page, he's talking about watching the gypsies dance and all that, and he goes, I always stayed until the fire died down and the music stopped, but sometimes I still hear it in my dreams. So there's another, reference to a place to sleep, put down to sleep, dreams. It'd be another clue if there's only 3, but there's a 4th right here under the canopy of stars and blaze. Kind of looks like they're being laid down to go to sleep. Anyway, there's some other things that said, there's a poem, give me some stout man or some men who are stout-hearted men who will fight for the right. Anyway, it's in the form of waves, so it's giving you a hint to warm waters. Anyway, it's not totally obvious. You got to use some imagination, but I'm pretty sure that we can jump to this conclusion that found under a canopy of stars is provided hints to where it was. And I say it was in a cemetery. Anyway, let's hear your comments. Leave some, leave a like, leave a dislike, comment on it. But I'm going to go through some other pictures and explain some of the things that I see, and we'll go from there. Okay, on page 20, it's No Place for the Biddies. Biddy with the S off has a word value of 33. And right here is their earrings. And you have an earring here and you have an earring here. And ear and ear each have a word value of 24. So you got 24 here and 24 there, omega and omega. And they are face to face. And so you're face to face, and Forrest Fenn's in the middle because that's who he says they're talking about. So your blaze is in the middle, and they're face to face, and face has a word value of 15. So we have the end omega, which is 15. Let's look at that. So here we have it. Ear and ears 24, and ring, you know, rings are round. Anyway, so there's your omega and omega 24, and then face to face is 15 and 15, and Forrest Fenn's in the middle right here, or these omegas, but anyway, it's a progression. On the very next page, on page 21, we also have this picture right here, and if you use a little imagination, you can see an X on this guy's shirt, an X, and then over here his twin is over here. Yeah, they're not both wearing hats, but their faces are the same. You got an X right there, and then his eye is highlighted, and his eye is highlighted, and anyway, so there's your omega, and omega. X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. And if you were to draw a line, there's where our X crosses over Forrest right here. And he has 5 stripes if you wanted to do that. And 5's in the middle with his nickel. Okay, here's a definition of an eye, a way of regarding something, a point of view. You know, we can pick them out, center or focus point of attention or action. Anyway, or an eye's round, and so, you know, let's see. Okay, on page, just happens to be 33. Anyway, we're on page 33, and he's talking about, you know, he'd take that nickel, and if you could find where she's buried, and just leave it there. Somehow I sense she knows that that and is smiling down on me. And smile, you do that on your face, which is 15. Anyway, and here we are, 2 sides over here. They're right here, and then you have a grave marker right here in the center. This is a grave marker. If you have a sense of imagination, you can see the grave marker of the kid leaning on the other kid, and it makes a grave marker right there. Okay, and then you got a circle. It's a wheelwright right here, wheelwright, and number 3. And so number 3. So anyway, there's 3 marbles, and all the headstones are made out of marble. Marble champion. So if you were the marble champion with these 3, you are now the marble champion. Okay? Just some more thoughts along the line. This picture right here is on page 22, and that gets us this omega right here, 22, and the next page 23, the end. But what's interesting about this is where you know, part of my ideas of what the blaze is from this chapter. It's jump starting the learning curve. So we're just getting a jump start on the blaze here. And what's interesting in this particular picture is his watch. So he's kneeling down, and he's in a cemetery, and he's 13 years old, and he's got a lot of time to think, and he's in 7th grade, which is also important because 7 and 13 are numbers of the blaze. And then the other thing is we've got a telephone pole right here, and we have a telephone pole right here, and we got a telephone pole right here. And Forrest Fenn's in the middle, and then there's a pole. You can see it right by his neck here, and then there's a pole there and a pole there. And let's go ahead and read something that was put out by Forrest Fenn about telephone poles. Anyway, you can't see it very well, but it goes like this. This is on Richard's blog. I forgot his last name, but you can look it up. Anyway, it goes, since Richard mentioned the olden days, let's harken back to 1620 when universal land measurements first became law in England and America. As you rode your horse into town, you had to pass 80 telephone poles in order to reach a mile because they were one chain apart or 66 feet. And each chain had 100 links. And that's a C, so that's number 3, C. You know, he's always shooting at the C bill, or a $100 bill always represents C, and that represents 3, and that represents, and anyway, I kind of lose myself there. Anyway, 100 links. If you want to break it down further, road rights of way also were one chain wide, so there's your 66 for the across the street. Anyway, the treasure chest full of gold and precious jewel is more than 66,000 links north of Santa Fe. After Forrest left that comment, others did the math. 100 links equals one chain. 66,000 links equals 6,600 chains, 660 chains, which is 66,000 divided by 100. One chain equals 66 feet. Anyway, they do all this math, and they come up with 8.25 miles. And that after this was posted, Forrest began to use the distance of 8.25 miles and has since used the mileage figured many times. So he's always going, the treasure is 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe. So this is where the telephone thing came into existence. It was planned for way before, and we have this picture. Let's look at it again here. So if you can see, Forrest is in the middle. There's 66 right here, and then from here, from Forrest to here is 66, and we come over to here and we have 66, we have the blaze, and then we have 66. Okay, shoes calculates out to 66. 33 and 33 makes 66. Anyway, it's just pointing to another subtle hint. And you know, these things, everybody wanted to know what the postage stamps were. Well, that is the wheelwright right here, and it's at the anyway, it's on most of the chapters, and that's a subtle hint there, because at the end of everything in Too Far to Walk, he has a red wax stamp, which red is the cut in the throat of the 5-year-old kid, and then he has FF in it, and that's 66, and it's round. And then in Once Upon a While, he has My 2 cents, which are 3 words in red, and that gets you 3 at the end, and it's also round, and that gets you the wheelwright at the end. So just some subtle hints. They're everywhere. Anyway, in the Totem Cafe Caper, he gets a pie and he runs out by a pine tree and eats it right there. And this is Frosty. Well, some people did research and they found out that his name was actually Fred, and Fred has a word value of 33, so he's pointing from 33 right down here in the corner to pie right there. Forrest and the pie. Forrest and pie, okay? So there's some subtle hints right there on this picture. Oh, and pie, you know, represents something round, and that's a wheelwright. Or pi can be the circumference of a circle. So there's more. if you go to page 99, you can kind of see somebody else, a lot of things people found, and I just worked them into mine. So thank you very much for all your input. Uh, I'm good at probably putting puzzles together and not figuring things out. But either way, anyway, you can see a 15 here. Right here, 15, and these are X's right here. So I took the liberty of filling that in, but with a little imagination, you get a 15, and you get a 15, and you get an X that marks the spot. Here's 15, and here's 15. So, this is on this side, the pattern goes boom, boom, and then we mirror it, and we get this one over here with this pattern, boom, boom, and boom. Okay? So there's your 15. It's on page 99, which happens to be an end number here, 99. And, there's a lot of information up above. He's talking about getting this cross, and he did it in the north. And, this is actually in the south here, and this is in the north, and he got shut down in the south, and then he got shut down in the north. Anyway, there's just ton, and his pepper thing, he goes a little bit over there and he spreads the pepper in a circle around him, and there's your omega, and there's your end, and there's your will right, and all that O and 15, and yep, it all fits together. And not only that, but on page 99 it has a blaze, and that's looks like the one on the horse too, but either way, it's kind of in the middle of the two X's with your point of view. Something to think about. It's not a great hint there. I think the 15s are awesome, but just subtle stuff. And here's a picture in Once Upon a While. I don't know, it just reminded me of the Fred thing. Anyway, Fred has a value of 33. This one's she misspells it, and she's doing a burial right here. This is a pile of rocks, and rocks has a word value of 66, and she yells it 3 times, which would be 99, and you get 99. Anyway, you get the hint. There's a lot of other clues in here if you want to look it through with this kind of thought process. I mean, I could go over word for word, and he tells you a story by these words that had word values, and he uses them over and over. Oh, and the scrapbook just happens to be 166. Graveyard logic, divorce logic. There you have it. I mean, this is great, ain't it? And finally, this is the last one. It's been long enough. In here it shows when they found it. This key was resting on this coin, and it just happens to be 1903. 3. Yay! Number 3. Hint, 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 hint. And then it's got this in here, and this twig. If you look up the definition of switch, can be twig, something switched in secret. It's been a switch. Anyway, I'm going to do another video about switches, and, like the cow that had the switching tail, that's a switch too, and it pulled him off of the stool, and he kicked the bucket, and that's when Forrest Fenn passed away. And anyway, there's just lots of hints. The script has been written, and it's being played. So here we are. Thanks again. Hopefully you found this somewhat entertaining, and you can give me a like, a dislike, words of encouragement, words of you're not very cool. Anyway, I don't know. These are my opinions, please. No, they're my opinions. You can do whatever you want with your opinions, but we can respect each other. So let's try that. Anyway, give me a like and subscribe. That'd be cool. So you can get some more of these great and glorious videos explaining the end and some closure, because I told Forrest Fenn in an email once, you can take your treasure and beep beep I just want to know the solution to the poem. And here you are. I found the solution to the poem. So anyway, if you don't think I have, please tell me all about it. And if you'd like something to explain, please let me try to explain it, because I'm telling you, all these things tie together and it goes on and on and on. I mean, Forrest Fenn couldn't even laugh without giving a clue. Well, you know, I'm a little exaggerating, but it's true. I'm telling you, that guy was calculated. So we'll just go from there. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Keep smiling.